Hey gang, it's Todd Nauck and it's time for another art video. This time I'm drawing Rose Tyler from Doctor Who. If you don't watch Doctor Who, Doctor Who is a show from the UK. Who am I kidding? Everybody's watched Doctor Who, except for me. I just finally got into watching the current series. Just now started season 7, so I'm catching up a bit, but that's the good thing about Netflix. But I am familiar with the ninth and 10th Doctors and one of the companions who would go on adventures with the ninth and 10th Doctor was Rose Tyler, and she's a great character, and I thought it'd be fun to give her a try. So that's what we're doing here. I'm doing a portrait of her in watercolor on a piece of watercolor paper. So the first step I did was to look up some photo reference of Rose Tyler, portrayed by the actress Billie Piper. So I wanted to find a good shot of her face that would be fun and interesting to draw. So I found one and I'm looking at it on my iPad, which is not here in this shot, but I'm using that as a visual reference so I can see how close I can get to making my illustration look like the actual person. It's a fun challenge to do and something I encourage young artists and artists breaking in to try to do. Because I get a lot of questions from you guys asking, how do I find my style? How do I find my own personal style in my art? And my encouragement to you guys, as always, is don't try to find your style. Your style will find you. It's not some mysterious thing you have to acquire. It's just how do you translate the real world through your lines and shapes and colors on the paper. That's really all your style is. So a great exercise is to draw from real life. Now, as I mentioned in my other videos, I think it's okay to be influenced and inspired by your favorite artist. I am. I think almost every pro out there working in comics has been, and that's part of the fun of it. And we can learn a lot from other artists. And I think one aspect of it is that when we look at another artist's art, we can see how they've figured out the puzzle of creating a shape of a nose or an ear or a jawline or the eyes or the hair. And that can help to a degree. But it's in a way, it's like the training wheels. Once you kind of get the feel for that, start looking at real life because a photo, when you look at a photo or a real life a person in real life right there in front of you, the shapes of the nose, the ears, the jaw, the eyes, those are not defined by lines. So we now have to figure out which lines we want to use to translate these shapes that are not there in real life. So that can be kind of challenging, kind of overwhelming and daunting at times. And I get a lot of young artists saying that they don't like drawing from real life because it's hard, and that's totally understandable. It's hard for us all at one point or another. But the more you practice, the more you learn, the more you start to overcome those challenges and start to become a little more proficient at what it is you're trying to do. So whenever you can, start moving towards that, moving towards facing those challenges. The sooner you start grabbing hold of those challenges and trying to overcome them, the sooner you will eventually overcome them and hopefully master them and move on to the next challenge. That's what I try to do. That's the way I try to approach it. It's not always easy, but it's the best way to really keep moving forward is to not shy away from those challenges. So just keep at it and keep on drawing. You'll get there. All right. So as with this illustration of Rose Tyler, what I've been doing is just sketching it in. You saw it start off as real kind of rough shapes, the basic shape of the head, breaking down where the eyes, nose, mouth line would be, the center of the face, roughing in the ear, and slowly working in the hairline and the hair her hairband, and then tightening up the details of the face as we see the eyes, the nose, the lips, bit by bit, always looking at the photo and trying to mirror that onto the paper as best I can, going through my eyes, through my brain, down my arm, out my hand, and onto the paper in my style. So this is Rose Tyler in the Todd Nauck style. So this video is just the line art. It'll be the pencils and the inks. And with the inks, I decided to try something new. Usually where I use black multiliners. This time, because it's watercolor, I wanted to have a softer look. I'm going with a softer color line. So I'm using brown markers here, these brown Copic multiliners to do my line work. I just thought it would look interesting with the watercolors, so that's the reason why I've chosen to use the brown multiliners here, and I think they're working working pretty well. It's fun to do. It just gets me thinking in a different way. It looks different than what I usually do with my black and white artwork. Now I'm doing brown and white artwork, and it just makes it fun. It's just something different. It mixes it up, gets my brain thinking new ways, and keeps things fresh for me, and hopefully ends up looking kind of cool. So let's do some Q&A right now. Let's take some of the questions you've posted on my different social networks, either here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you're on any of those social networks, you can follow me. They're all listed below here in the description of this video. So go check out those links and follow me. So let's see. Right now we have from YouTube here, M. Coover asks, what age did you get into art and how did you start getting recognized? Let's see. I started with art as early as I can remember. My earliest memories are of drawing. I remember sitting at the kitchen table at age 3, scribbling in a circle, going hamburger, hamburger. And that's one of my earliest memories of drawing something. And also watching my mom draw stick figures just really was mind blowing to my 3-year-old mind, seeing these characters come to life on the paper as simple as they were. It was just so amazing to see these lines form recognizable shapes. So I've always been into art. And the other part of your question was, how did I start getting recognized? For me, it started with comic book conventions. Growing up in a little tiny town in East Texas, I had to go out to comic book conventions in Dallas once every 4 months. They had this thing called the Dallas Fantasy Fair comic book convention every 4 months. So it's like Thanksgiving and the spring and then in the summer. And my buddy and I would go out there and I would meet editors. Marvel would always have editors out there, fortunately, and I was able to meet these editors, showing my portfolio each time, and they could give me advice, and my work was growing bit by bit by bit. And it was an editor there that actually gave me my very first paid published work. So I was pretty fortunate. And nowadays there are tons of conventions across the U.S. and other countries as well. So find a convention that's near you. Hopefully one of the larger conventions that the publishers will be at, because if there are publishers there, more than likely there'll be editors there. So Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, Valiant, Boom, all these different companies. You want to try to find conventions where those publishers are at. So there are some smaller cons that are mostly just comic book artists and maybe some movie celebrities. Those are fun to go to. You can meet artists, get some critiques, but if you want to try to score some work, you got to go to those cons where the publishers are at. And then also taking advantage of social networking and posting your work online on the different social networks. I try to do it on all of them. And as I mentioned before, they're all listed below in the description. Go click on the links and then click like or follow. So thank you for the questions there, M. Coover. Let's see, heading over to Facebook, Kurt Anthony Krug asks, are you self-taught or do you have a college degree? If so, in the latter case, from where? Well, the easy answer for that is yes and yes. Yes, I am self-taught, just by the sheer fact that I've been drawing all my life. And with all that drawing is essentially a lot of practice. And with that practice comes learning and growth and understanding to one degree or another. But I did have an art class actually an after-school art class in 4th grade, which was pretty cool that my mom enrolled me in that. 7th grade, I had 1 semester of art as an elective, and then my junior and senior years of high school, for both semesters of both those years, I was able to take art. So that was pretty cool. But for after high school, I enrolled at the Art Institute of Dallas and studied commercial art and graphic design. Never intended to be a commercial artist or graphic designer, but I applied everything I learned there, from life drawing to perspective, the design classes of all sorts, towards comics. And I taught myself how to utilize that in my chosen profession, because the Art Institute does not teach you how to draw comic books, especially back when I attended back in the 90s. They do have their video game and animation course, which kind of is more along the lines of comics, because storyboarding is much like drawing comic book panels. But and then there's like character design and background design and things like that. So that stuff lends itself more towards comics, but they didn't offer that program back when I enrolled. So I just took the closest thing, and that was commercial art graphic design, and just utilized that towards the stuff I was learning from my critiques I was getting from editors every 4 months at the conventions, and just kind of put together my own comic book course, and then was able to break into comics a year after I graduated. So hopefully that answers your question there, Kurt. Thanks for posting. And as we put in the last few lines, I want to say thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the support. Thanks for all the likes and subscribing and all the questions. You guys are awesome. Thanks so much. Don't have a scan of the line art here, but we will have a scan at the end of the part 2 video, which is the watercolors. So I can't wait to show that to y'all. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back real soon.